We are 6 weeks into the new season of South Park, which this year means we just got our 4th episode of the season titled Walk is Dead. An episode that had Butters searching for a super rare Labubu, put Jesus in a new role as school counselor, and had a massive Trump Hussein x Satan reveal that likely will have major ramifications on the remainder of the season, and maybe beyond. And the episode had a shocking number of similarities to an array of classic South Park episodes as well. There is tons to go over, so let's talk about season 27, episode 4, Walk is Dead. And hey, if you like this breakdown, not only am I going to cover every episode of the new season, but I have a ton of South Park episode, character, and lore breakdowns across the channel, so consider subscribing. Thanks. So it seems like the major cultural headline for this week's episode is definitely going to be their focus on Labubus, which took center stage immediately, putting a spotlight on a lot of the girl characters actually, including ones we don't get to see that often. And I thought their angle here was pretty funny, with the girls very excitedly discussing their Labubus before devolving into full-on fist fights 100% of the time. This definitely seems like a storyline that was at least partially inspired by Trey's daughter Betty, who actually takes on probably her most prominent role she's ever had in the show as her character Betsy here. Betsy has appeared just a handful of times, most recently debating Clyde in Got a Nut, but she gets a ton of dialogue in this episode and the main focus up top.
I actually have chestnut cocoa, Labubu.
No way! That is the rarest one!
Isn't it so cute?
Honestly, I love to see Trey giving his daughter a more substantial role here, particularly because she really nailed it. She had to do a lot more than usual and gave a very, very funny performance. I laughed pretty hard at a lot of her line deliveries.
What kind of counseling was that?
I don't know, Jesus sucks, dude.
Because the kid focus in this one lands on the girls and Butters, the main boys are barely in it, just a little bit of Cartman and Kenny at the top of the episode, and though this is at least a kid-focused story, it is a bit disappointing that we haven't gotten a real substantial story about the main 4 boys yet, but you know, we do love a Butters story. It was also fun to get a bit of focus on some of the background girls in this one. Red being the most prominent was a real surprise. Even Sophie, who was introduced in the episode Basic Cable, got her first lines since that episode, though she was previously played by Becca Scott from Geek and Sundry's How to Play fame, and definitely wasn't in this one. This episode actually had a lot going on, with the Labubu story sort of tying everything together. Basically, the craze leads Butters to City Walk, which is now an Asian pop-up stand where he can buy the super expensive blind boxes, made even more expensive due to the tariffs. Changing City Walk to a pop-up stand and proclaiming Walk is Dead was also a pretty funny way to continue the Woke is Dead theme started in the first episode of the season. Not to mention, we got one of our few ever appearances of Lou Kim's wife, Wing, from the season 9 episode, aptly titled Wing. So many little callbacks here. This entire season seems to just be littered with small references to episodes from much older eras. I did really enjoy how they portrayed the whole Labubu game. As somebody who collected Pokemon cards from 2017 to like 2023, the gambly nature of the Labubu market felt very familiar. And it was funny to see Wing criticize Lou Kim for taking advantage of children when he was passing the buck of the tariffs down to the consumer.
Oh, here we go. I get screwed by tariffs, so I have to screw the children.
Speaking of tariffs, while this episode did feature Trump Hussein, it was a pretty subdued appearance, mostly used as a vehicle for the show to continually ask or state Donald Trump is fucking Satan, which, you know, respect to the wordplay this season. Between this and master debating, they're doing a lot of it. It's interesting. I've seen a lot of people already fed up with the Trump Hussein stuff from the first 3 episodes, claiming that it's just the same small package joke over and over again. But the first 3 episodes definitely just used those jokes as like seasoning, while each episode also focused on specific criticism and satire towards the president. The first was pointedly about his obsession with suing people and institutions. The second one likened Mar-a-Lago to Epstein Island while criticizing ICE, and the third was all about how he surrounds himself with sycophants and enablers. This one felt like the criticism was not so specific. Sure, it was tangentially about the tariffs, but all of the Trump sequences were just kind of the same bit. Fox News getting really turned on by the Trump Satan speculation.
And I'm not saying if he is or he isn't, I'm just kind of hoping he is.
I'd say I definitely preferred the previous 3 episodes in their political commentary, but as we'll talk about later, this one is definitely setting up some big season-long lore. The non-Satan side of this episode is pretty fittingly about Jesus. I actually love the development that he's now just the new school counselor after Mackie was fired in the second episode of the season. It feels like there's some subtle commentary here. Bringing Jesus back to the schools, as they said in the first episode, was never as simple as, we're gonna let kids pray again. Now here we see Jesus is becoming a fundamental part of the school system, not just putting him back in the school, despite this being an unconstitutional lack of separation of church and state. Hey, did y'all hear that starting this year, every classroom in Texas has to have the 10 Commandments on display? I'm not sure why I just thought of that, but I like this as a place for Jesus, the character, in South Park. It's funny to see a 2,000-year-old guy try to navigate modern trends, just absolutely baffled by the concept of Labubu's.
Tell her to stop saying my Labubus are knockoffs.
I'm sorry. What is a Labubu?
Also adored this photo behind his desk with God. Just a nice photo of a father and son. But the absolute biggest laugh I got this entire episode was the school meeting where they showed off the Labubu TikToks that the kids are making, revealing that the kids do full-on satanic rituals with them after unboxing a rare one. I loved this angle for the storyline. For one, Labubus absolutely do look demonic, so it's a fun and natural connection to make, but also a subversion of a satanic panic storyline. I like here that something as innocent as Labubus actually are being used satanically. It's pretty funny in 2025. Okay, here's a little tangent I want to go down. The school meeting gave us our first look at Strong Woman in the new season, a character we obviously know is married to PC Principal and even has kids with him. However, she didn't speak or really have any real presence in the episode outside of just kind of sitting there. And I'm curious if this is because they're still trying to figure out what to do with her now that PC Principal is Power Christian Principal. Has Strong Woman also shifted to Power Christian mode? And what of the PC babies? Are they Power Christian babies now? Honestly, that sounds like a decent piece of drama to center an episode around. It could be about the change in dynamic once PC Principal switched his ideology, or maybe PC Principal's conversion actually stemmed from some friction in his relationship. Maybe they broke up. Maybe PC Principal is a sad divorced dad now. Definitely feels like something worth exploring, and was a little strange to see Strong Woman just be completely silent at school. Although maybe this is also just commentary on how woke is dead. Now a Strong Woman stays silent. Okay, let's talk about this big Trump/Satan development. I think one of the issues I had with this episode was that this story felt a little hollow. That side of the episode was mostly filled with the Fox News Trump-Satan jokes, but I think maybe getting a little bit more screen time showing this from Satan's perspective could have gone a long way. I did really enjoy the one scene where Tattoo Fantasy Island JD Vance clumsily tries to console Satan. I think it's sort of always been funny when they show Satan, Prince of Darkness, just genuinely depressed and going through an existential crisis. That's probably my favorite aspect of Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. The fact that Satan has the I Want song in that musical is genuinely genius. So I did also enjoy Satan sitting in this garden, lamenting that he's trapped at the White House, opening up to this creepy little JD Vance.
I wanted to leave months ago, but I cannot. Because of what's in this box.
But I also think that the way the stories all sort of tied together felt a tiny bit lacking. Don't get me wrong, I think the Labubu satanic ritual is genuinely one of the funniest things in the episode and maybe in the entire season so far, but there wasn't a ton of clarity about the kids' motivation in doing the Labubu satanic ritual. They seemed to expect Satan would show up, but then they were also scared of him. What were they intending to do when he got there? Maybe it wasn't necessary to explain this. Maybe the entire point is that the kids are just following fads without thinking them through. I just felt like the reveal of Trump and Satan in the summoning circle was sort of the obvious expected one. And oftentimes South Park manages to hit us with surprises in these moments. I did like that there was at least a bit of continuity in terms of the kids summoning Satan, something we've seen a few times in the show now. Back in Freemium Isn't Free, Stan simply prayed and Satan answered him, but in Time to Get Cereal, Al Gore and the boys do a very similar summoning circle, complete with sacrificial chicken. But the place the episode did surprise is obviously the major M-Preg reveal. The reason Satan is tied to Trump is because he's pregnant with his child, and I expect that this is basically going to be the major ongoing serialized element for the remainder of season 27. And structurally, I really like how this season is operating. Each entry is largely episodic, with the Trump Hussein/Satan stuff acting as a smaller serialized through line. And honestly, I feel like there are a lot of possibilities with what they've set up here. Also, just another example of what we've seen them do every episode this season, portray Trump as intrinsically tied to something evil. But the whole Satan is pregnant thing, along with a bunch of other aspects, actually bizarrely make this feel like a sister episode to season 1's Damien, and other aspects of the episode make it feel akin to classics like Chinpokomon and Raisins as well. Obviously, the Asian fad takes over South Park aspect of the story is a lot like Chinpokomon. In fact, you even see some Chinpokomon figures at the Asian pop-up at City Walk, and the way that Red sort of manipulates Butters into getting her a specific Labubu for her birthday feels like two things. One, Butters not really understanding the transactional nature of his relationship with Lexus in Raisins, and two, Cartman demanding very specific Mega Man action figures for his birthday in Damien. Damien is obviously a season 1 episode about the son of Satan, and is also centered around a major showdown between Satan and Jesus. It's actually kind of wild how much this has in common with that episode. A character demanding specific birthday presents, a plot line about the offspring of Satan, a big showdown between Jesus and the Prince of Darkness. And obviously there are also plenty of possibilities in regards to where they'll go with this Satan pregnancy story. I'm curious if they'll finally acknowledge Damien again, though it feels unlikely. They pretty much ignored him after season 1. They didn't even acknowledge him in the South Park movie. I was definitely very intrigued by what Satan had in that box, but I obviously never would have guessed what it was. But this satanic box design and the rhetoric from Satan does feel akin to what we saw in the South Park movie. Obviously, I'm drawing these comparisons because of the whole Trump-Hussein connection in this season, but the way he's sitting here talking about this in the White House garden feels like there could be more to it. There are lines here that obviously feel very prophetic and serious, and the joke is that they're actually referring to his pregnancy. But there's one line that doesn't really line up with that bit.
The final showdown is upon us.
So I guess maybe this could have been in reference to Satan facing off with Jesus at the end of the episode, but that wasn't much of a showdown. I feel like this could end up having larger ramifications down the line, but also it seems kinda clear that they're mostly just seeing where the story takes them week by week. Satan telling Towley that there was no escape last week felt like a bigger, more ominous reveal was coming, and maybe there is something else still coming, but it doesn't quite align with the idea that Satan is trapped in the relationship because of the pregnancy. That wouldn't be something that traps Towley at the White House, just Satan. But obviously, they're going to be continuing this storyline across the rest of the season. They wouldn't set up a satanic pregnancy like this without the intention of following it up later. And with that kind of a plot often comes dark prophecy type storylines, which again could be similar to what we saw in Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, where Terrence and Phillip's death saw the rise of Satan onto Earth. I know the season 27 trailer was full of fake episode premises, but they did repurpose the whole Elon Ketamine thing, and the trailer also showed a bunch of American-Canadian war imagery. Given that this season is so filled with little callbacks and references to older South Park, and also contains the clear, overt Satan/Saddam references via Trump, I wouldn't hate it if they made the culmination of this season a sort of Bigger, Longer, and Uncut follow-up. Now, they've done follow-ups to the movie previously, but the way Satan is now trapped in this abusive relationship via pregnancy feels like an escalation of his abusive relationship with Saddam, and it kind of makes a ton of sense to harken back directly to that big finale moment from the movie. I actually made a big Satan in South Park video years ago, expecting that it would stay up to date since he had, died at that point. But I might have to do an updated version after this season ends since there's so much Satan stuff here. But overall, I was kind of half in the bag on this episode. The Labubu ritual stuff was great. The way Butters got roped into everything felt like a pretty classic Butters storyline. And the more serialized elements of the season, like Jesus in school and Trump/Satan's butt baby, all have me intrigued and excited to see what comes next. I just didn't feel like this one quite came together in a way that felt as impactful or satisfying as that I've liked. But it was fun to see them tackle a more kid-centric topic. I really hope we get a bit more focus on the main 4 boys at some point this season, and also just see how the Marshes are settling back into town after leaving Tegrity Farms behind. There's lots to look forward to with the remaining 6 episodes. The next episode is in 2 weeks on September 17th, so stay tuned. And I, of course, want to know what you think about not just this episode, but the trajectory of this Satan storyline. Let me know below in the comments, and make sure to stay tuned because I'll be covering every episode as it airs. Peace.
I stay mellow watching Johnny Two Cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny Two Cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.
ہمارے سولر سسٹم کا آخری پلانٹ ہے اور یہ سورج سے دور ترین پلانٹ ہے جس کا سال کا عرصہ 248 سال ہے. یعنی یہ 248 سال میں اپنا چکر سورج کے گرد کمپلیٹ کرتا ہے اور جب سے یہ ڈسکور ہوا ہے اب تک اس کے ایک چکر بھی پورا نہیں ہوا. یہ پہلے پلانٹ کے عہدے پر یوں کہہ لیں یا یہ پلانٹ کے سٹیٹس پر قائم تھا، لیکن 2006 میں IAU یعنی انٹرنیشنل ایسٹرونامیکل یونین نے اس کو پلانٹ سے کم کر کے اس کی حیثیت کو اس کو ڈوارف پلانٹ کا نام دے دیا یا ڈوارف پلانٹ کا سٹیٹس دے دیا. ہم ایک تو پلانٹ ہوتا ہے، ہم ایک ڈوارف پلانٹ جو ہے ہم اس کو کہتے ہیں جو چھوٹا پلانٹ ہوتا ہے یا ابھی اس کا اس طرح سے سٹیٹس نہیں بنا ہوتا کہ اس کو پلانٹ کا نام دیا جائے. اس کی وجہ یہ ہوتی ہے کہ پلانٹ کی ایک اپنی ایک شرائط ہوتی ہیں، جب وہ پوری ہوں تو پھر ہی کسی پلانٹ کو پلانٹ کی ان کا دیا جاتا ہے سٹیٹس. یہ سٹیٹس پلانٹ کا اس سے 2006 میں واپس لیا گیا. IAU یعنی انٹرنیشنل ایسٹرونامیکل یونین نے اس کو واپس لیا. اس کی وجہ یہ بھی ہے کہ جو نئی ریسرچز یا نئی آتی رہتی ہیں، جو نئی ریسرچز یا نئی آبزرویشنز آتی رہتی ہیں کسی بھی اسپیس کرافٹ کے ذریعے یا کسی آبزرویٹری کے ذریعے یا مین ٹیلیسکوپ کے ذریعے، ان کو جب دوبارہ سے کیلکولیٹ کیا جاتا ہے تو پھر اس کا پتہ چلتا ہے کہ اب یہ کس کنڈیشن پہ ہے. یہ اپنے پورے یعنی چکر جو کہ 248 سال کا چکر ہے سورج کے گرد، یہ اپنے پورے اس چکر کے دوران 27 سال کے لیے اپنا آربٹ چھوڑ دیتا ہے اور اندر آ جاتا ہے نیپچون کے آربٹ کے اندر. یعنی یہ اپنا آربٹ کمپلیٹلی پورے انڈیپینڈنٹ طریقے سے نہیں کرتا اور اپنے نیبرہڈ کے جو اس کے پلانٹس ہوتے ہیں ان کے آربٹس میں جا کر ان کو ڈسٹرب کرتا ہے یا ڈسٹرب کر سکتا ہے. اس لیے اس کو ڈوارف پلانٹ کا نام دیا گیا ہے. سولر سسٹم میں ویسے یہ سب سے بڑا ڈوارف پلانٹ ہے. سولر سسٹم میں اور بھی سینکڑوں ڈوارف پلانٹ ہیں، لیکن ان کا اس طرح سے سٹیٹس نہیں ہے کہ کبھی وہ پلانٹ بن گیا اور کبھی وہ ڈوارف پلانٹ بن گیا. وہ چھوٹے ہیں، اس سے بھی چھوٹے ہیں، تو وہ اس لیے وہ تو ان کا اتنا قابل ذکر نہیں ہے، اس لیے ہم ان پر بات نہیں کرتے. اس کا نام رومن گاڈ کے اوپر رکھا گیا ہے، جو کہ ان کا نام رومن گاڈ آف انڈر ورلڈ کے نام پر رکھا گیا ہے. اس کو پلوٹو کہا جاتا تھا. یہ لاول آبزرویٹری نے اس کو ڈسکور کیا تھا، جو کہ 8 فروری 1930 کے دن اس کو ڈسکور کیا گیا. پریکٹیکلی اس کے چاند 5 ہیں جو کہ 1978 سے لے کر 2014 تک ڈسکور ہوتے آئے ہیں. اس کے پہلا ایک چاند 1978 کو ہوا تھا ڈسکور، اور اس کے بعد آہستہ آہستہ یہ جیسے جیسے ریسرچ بڑھتی گئی، جیسے جیسے کیپیسٹی بڑھتی گئی ہماری اس کو آبزرو کرنے کی، تو اس کے چاند مزید سامنے آتے گئے اور اس وقت اس کے 5 چاند اور پانی سے تقریباً بنا ہوا ہے، کیونکہ اس کے اوپر جتنا پانی ہے وہ زمین کے مقابلے میں 3 گنا زیادہ ہے، اور باقی اس میں راکس بھی ہیں، اس میں پہاڑ بھی ہیں، اس میں ماؤنٹین رینج بھی ہیں، اس میں کریٹرز بھی ہیں. جب ہم کریٹرز کو دیکھتے ہیں تو ہمیں یہ سمجھ جانا چاہیے کہ وہاں پر کوئی انکمنگ میوٹرائٹس جو ہیں یا ایسٹرائڈس آ رہے ہیں مسلسل. اب جب میوٹرائٹس یا ایسٹرائڈس کسی چیز کے اوپر یا کسی سیلیسٹیل باڈی کے اوپر آ رہے ہوتے ہیں تو ہم اس کے وزن کے بڑھنے کے احتمال کے ساتھ بیٹھنا چاہیے ہمیں. یہ بیٹھے ہوتے ہیں آہستہ آہستہ، جیسے جیسے اس کا وزن بڑھے گا اس کا سائز بھی بڑھے گا اور اس کی گریوٹی بھی بڑھے گی. اور مے بھی آنے والے کچھ سالوں میں یہ شاید کچھ ڈیکیڈز کے اندر یہ دوبارہ سے اپنا جو سٹیٹس ہے پلینٹ کا یہ وہ واپس حاصل کر لے. دوسری اس میں جو بات ہوتی ہے جتنے ایسے پلینٹس ہوتے ہیں جس میں ہمارا چاند بھی جو کہ ہمارا پلینٹ ہے زمین کا ہمارا چاند بھی اسی میں شامل ہے. جب ان کے اوپر ہم کریٹرز دیکھتے ہیں تو ہمیں یہ سوچ آتی ہے کہ وہ کریٹرز بننے کی جو وجہ ہے وہ وہاں پر انکمنگ ایسٹرائڈس کی ہے اور وہ انکمنگ ایسٹرائڈس زمین کے لیے خطرہ نہیں ہیں. یعنی یہ سارا جو سولر سسٹم ہے اس میں بہت سارے ایسے عوامل ہو رہے ہیں جو ہمارے لیے فائدہ مند یا ہماری حفاظت کے لیے ہو رہی ہیں. ان میں سے ایک پلوٹو بھی ہے جو باہر کے باہر ہی کچھ ایسٹرائڈس کو اپنے اندر لے لیتا ہے اور اس کی جتنی کیپیسٹی ہے گریوٹی کی وہ ان کو یوز کرتا ہے. ہم اس امید سے ہیں کہ آنے والے وقت میں اس پر گریوٹی زیادہ ہوگی اور وہ زیادہ سے زیادہ حفاظت کے قابل ہوگا. زمین کے مون یعنی چاند سے چھوٹا ہے اور بھی بہت سارے ایسے چاند ہیں جن میں جوپیٹرس کے کچھ چاند ہیں اور کچھ ہیں کچھ جوپیٹر کے چاند ہیں اور کچھ سیٹرن کے چاند ہیں جن سے اس کی خود پلینٹ کی یا ڈوارف پلینٹ کی کا جو حجم ہے اس کا جو سائز ہے وہ ان چاندوں سے کم. فاصلہ 4.4 ارب کلومیٹر سے لے کر 7.3 ارب کلومیٹر تک جاتا ہے. اب اس کا مطلب یہ ہے کہ اس کا جو آربٹ ہے وہ بیضوی ہے. وہ کبھی سورج کے قریب آ جاتا ہے کبھی وہ دور چلا جاتا ہے اور یہ اسی وجہ سے ہم یہ کہتے ہیں کہ یہ بلکہ صرف یہ وجہ نہیں ہے آبزرو بھی ہوا ہے کہ یہ نیپچون کے آربٹ سے بھی اندر آ جاتا ہے اور اس میں اندر کی سائڈ پر سفر کرتا ہے اور پھر اس کے بعد وہ کچھ ہی عرصے کے بعد 20 یا 22 سال کے بعد وہ اس سے باہر نکل جاتا ہے. اس کو جو ایٹ اسپاٹ وزٹ کرنے والا اسپیس کرافٹ ہے وہ نیو ہورائزن ہے. نیو ہورائزن وہ واحد اسپیس کرافٹ ہے جس نے اس کو نہیں دوبارہ نیو ہورائزن وہ واحد اسپیس کرافٹ ہے جس نے اس کو وزٹ کیا ہے اور اس کے بہت ساری آبزرویشنز کیلکولیشنز اس کی ریسرچ ورک اس نے واپس زمین پر بھیجا ہے. اور اس وقت نیو ہورائزن آگے گامزن ہے کیونکہ وہ فلائی بائی اسپیس کرافٹ تھا اس کے پاس سے گزر کے آگے نکل گیا. وہ آگے گامزن ہے کائپر بیلٹ کی طرف اور مزید چیزوں کے اوپر وہ سیلیسٹل باڈیز کے اوپر وہ ریسرچ کر رہا ہے اور اپنے سفر کو جاری رکھے ہوئے ہے. یعنی جو اس کی ہمارے سولر سسٹم میں لوکیشن ہے وہ پرسیپل آبزرویٹری ہے جس نے اس کو پریڈکٹ کیا تھا 2015 میں. اس کا مطلب ہے کہ 2015 سے پہلے اس کی جو ایگزیکٹ لوکیشن ہے وہ ہمیں معلوم نہیں تھی لیکن اب معلوم ہے ہوا اور بالکل ایک آئس کا ایک اور پانی کا ایک پلینٹ ہے. لیکن جب یہ سورج کے کچھ عرصہ کے لیے قریب آتا ہے تو اس کی برف پگھل جاتی ہے جس سے وہ امٹ کرتی ہے اس کے فضا میں ہائیڈروجن کو اور میتھین کو اور وہ ایک ایٹماسفیئر بناتے ہیں. میتھین اس سے 160 کلومیٹر اوپر تک اس کی سطح سے 160 کلومیٹر اوپر تک ایک لیئر بناتی ہے اور اس دوران اس کا جو سورج کی روشنی کی ریفلیکشن کی وجہ سے اس کا کلر بھی چینج ہوتا رہتا ہے. اور جب یہ سورج سے دور جانا شروع ہوتا ہے تو وہی میتھین واپس نیچے گرتی ہے اس کی سطح کے اوپر اور اس کو دوبارہ سے جما دیتی ہے اور نتیجہ یہ نکلتا ہے کہ یہ پھر ایٹماسفیئر لیس ہو جاتا ہے. پلوٹو کا ڈائیمیٹر 2372 کلومیٹر ہے. آ چکے ہیں 248 سال ہے. 248 سال میں یہ اپنا آربٹ ایک مکمل کرتا ہے اور ظاہر ہے یہ بھی ایک اہم پلینٹ ہے یا اس کو ابھی ہم اس وقت ڈوارف پلانٹ کہہ رہے ہیں کیونکہ IAU نے اس کا سٹیٹس واپس لیا ہے پلانٹ کا، لیکن اس کا مطلب یہ نہیں ہے کہ ہم اس سے صرف نظر کر سکتے ہیں. ہم صرف نظر نہیں کر سکتے، ہم اس کے اوپر پوری نظر رکھے ہوئے ہیں اور آہستہ آہستہ اس کا جیسے جیسے میس بڑھتا جا رہا ہے اور اس کی اگر آربٹل چینج ہو جاتا ہے، جیسا کہ یہ نیپچون کے اندر آ جاتا ہے، اس کی مین جو غلطی ہے وہ یہ ہے کہ یہ نیپچون کے آربٹ کے اندر آ کر سفر شروع کر دیتا ہے، جس سے کہ اس کا جو پلانیٹری سٹیٹس ہے وہ چینج ہو جاتا ہے اور یہ پھر ایک چھوٹے پلانٹ کی شکل پہ آ جاتا ہے. آج اپلوڈ کے لیے اتنا ہی کافی. تھینک یو ویری مچ.